All right, welcome to the explainer. We're always told that love is this magical feeling, a spark, something that just sort of happens to us. But what if that's not the whole story? What if the real secret to a lasting, healthy connection isn't about finding love, but actually building it? So today, we're going to dive deep into the psychology behind what makes love truly work. So, let's start with something we've all grown up with, right? This idea of happily ever after. But what does that actually mean when you get out into the real world, away from the storybooks? Let's really break down the myths we're told versus the reality of relationships today. For a lot of us, our very first ideas about love come straight from fairy tales. I mean, think about Snow White, Cinderella, you name it. In those stories, love is, well, it's pretty simple, right? It's this magical thing that just happens. The prince arrives, there's a kiss, and boom! All of a sudden, every single problem is magically solved. Okay, but then we grow up and we realize pretty quickly that real relationships are, well, they're a lot more complicated. They're not really a fairy tale at all. They're more like, I don't know, a complex indie film? There's so much joy, for sure, but there's also real pain and just constant negotiation. You have amazing days, and then you have some really, really tough ones. The fantasy just kind of evaporates and reality sets in. And that right there brings us to a really crucial distinction. And honestly, this can change everything about how you see relationships. And it's this: the feeling of love and the actual structure of a relationship are two totally different things. And mixing those two up, that's where so many of us get into trouble. So let's talk about love first, just the feeling. It's an emotion, right? A state of being. You can genuinely feel it for lots of people, and man, it can feel so effortless, especially at the beginning. It's that spark, that incredible connection that feels like it just happens out of nowhere. But a relationship, that's a whole different ballgame. That's something you have to consciously build. See, the feeling can just show up, but a relationship is a framework, a structure, and it takes real work. We're talking communication, setting boundaries, and actually showing up for the other person, especially on those days when that initial spark isn't exactly a bonfire. And this quote just nails it, doesn't it? You can have this incredibly powerful love for someone, and that's amazing. But that feeling, all by itself, is just not enough to keep a healthy working partnership going. You need something more. Okay, so what does a healthy relationship require then, if it's not just the feeling? Well, this is where it gets really interesting. The source material lays out this amazing framework. Think of it like a triangle, with three essential pillars that all have to be in balance for the relationship to really work. So, pillar number one is, of course, the love itself. You need that emotional core. This isn't just about the fuzzy feelings, though. It's about being really honest about how you feel, the good stuff and the bad stuff. It also means you have to actively feed that affection, with little surprises, compliments, and really protect that positive energy that you have to get. All right, pillar number two is growth, because a great relationship isn't just something that sits there. It's a catalyst. It helps you grow. We're talking about external growth, like your career, your health, but also, and this is so important, your internal spiritual growth. It helps you understand yourself on a deeper level and tackle your own fears and challenges. The whole point isn't to get lost in the other person. It's for the relationship to help both of you become even more of who you're meant to be. And that brings us to the third pillar, the relationship itself. This is the practical stuff, the real nuts and bolts of it all. So this covers physical intimacy and connection, but also setting super clear rules and boundaries. It's about accepting that your partner has flaws, because guess what? So do you. And of course, the absolute glue holding this whole thing together: consistent, honest communication. Okay, but here's the thing. None of those three pillars, love, growth, the relationship, none of them can stand up on their own without a super solid foundation. And what is that foundation? It's the relationship you have with yourself. Think about it. When you get into a serious relationship, it often feels like a safe space, right? Your guard comes down. And when that happens, all the vulnerable, kind of childlike parts of us tend to come out to play. You might have heard it called the inner child. This is the part of you that's still carrying around old wounds and needs that were never met. And loving yourself means you learn to take care of that part of you, instead of expecting your partner to come in and fix it all. A lot of the time, we do these little things that are basically acts of self-betrayal, and we don't even notice. I'm talking about saying yes when every part of you is screaming no, or always putting your partner's needs way ahead of your own, or maybe compromising on your core values just to avoid a fight. Each one might feel small in the moment, but they add up. They just chip away at your self-worth. And that makes a truly healthy partnership pretty much impossible. But this is also where a relationship can be an incredible tool for growth. Your partner is basically a mirror. They reflect back to you all the parts of yourself that you just can't see on your own, the good and, yeah, the not so good. And it's so easy to get defensive when that happens, right? But if you can just shift your perspective and see that reflection, that feedback as a gift, wow, it shows you exactly where you have a chance to grow. So when we pull all of this together, we get to this total reframing of what love really is. It's not this thing you just passively fall into, like you're tripping into an open manhole or something. No, it's something you actively, consciously build. And there is a massive difference between that passive feeling of falling in love and the active, ongoing decision of loving someone. Real, lasting love, it's a commitment. It's a choice that you make every single day, a choice to show up, to communicate, to support them, and to grow right alongside another imperfect human being. It's not a passive fall, it's an active ascent. You're climbing together. So that kind of leaves us with one final question to think about. When you look at your most important relationships, are you just riding the wave of a feeling? Or are you actively choosing every day to build something real and something that lasts? Because that difference, well, it's everything.